Teak, we thought our next guest, for a multitude of reasons, would be really an ideal guest. He's got a million sons, seemingly, who are all pretty good, so he can help us with Lavar Ball's situation. Obviously, the Warriors, he played there, and just a great player. Basketball Hall of Famer. He's doing some coaching. Remember, we had Ice Cube on, the whole Big Three AI and that crew. He's now a coach in the Big Three league. So Rick Barry's got a lot going on, and Rick Barry is with us again here on Tiki and Tierney. Rick, what's happening, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. Just had a great, wonderful omelet fixed by my old teammate, starting center on our championship team, Clifford Ray. Staying with him here north of Orlando, getting ready to go down and see my son in the University of Florida play the first game in the NCAA tournament for them. So yeah, everything's going good.
Yeah, it should be. And I saw the commercial. You're still in pretty good shape there, Rick, because you were rocking the old mid '70s yellow gold Warriors, even though it didn't have the logo for trademark purposes, but. The New York Life commercial, you're still looking svelte, you're still knocking down the free throws underhand, and your son, for those who don't know, Canyon, who you just mentioned plays for Florida, he shoots them underhand. Boy, oh boy, all these years later, Rick, people are still throwing them up underhand. The ones who are smart, because they usually go in.
Yeah, there's not too many of them doing it, and it was kind of fun to do that. It was ironic when New York Life approached me about doing this, and then all of a sudden the publicity with my son, who set a record at Florida with 42 consecutive free throws made, and was up like within one hundredth of a point of being at 90%, which he wanted to get to, and stories in the New York Times. So it was kind of great. So the ad people working for New York Life were pretty lucky to go ahead and get that. But I love the association with them because I really believe in what they do. Be good at life. So it's a great motto for anything in life. But they do a great job taking care of the financial world. I'm a big believer in what they do. So I'm really happy with that association. It's awesome. But Canyon has done a great job with his free throws and done a nice job with the thing I'm proudest of is that he was the academic All-America of the Year, Division I men's college basketball. And the thing I'm proudest of is that he and his mother are the only mother and son combination to be first-team academic All-Americas two different times. My wife in women's basketball when she played, and my son twice now first-team academic All-America.
Didn't know that.
Wow,
pretty good there.
Great.
Pretty good,
Congrats,
Dad.
Man. That's an amazing accomplishment, Rick. You should be proud. I'm curious. You knew your kids would be good ball players when they were young. I'm assuming, correct?
Well, I knew that they had athletic skills and stuff. You don't know until you get them out in the court. I remember Canyon the first time was second grade playing in the Y. And we showed him a few things. My wife really was responsible for when he was younger, teaching fundamentals and things of that nature. And the pass was thrown to him as he was running down the court, and he turned. And as the ball came, he just took it and changed the direct and threw it down to his teammate down the other end of the floor. That showed us, and we both looked at each other and said, "He's got it." That's a natural feel for the game that can't be taught. I mean, most kids that catch the ball and they dribble it and do some things. He already instinctively knew that he had a teammate up the court, and he just immediately changed the direction of the basketball, and it was crazy. It was, the light went on. I said, "Wow, he's got it." And obviously, it's proven to be the case. I think my son, if given the opportunity, because I think people have only seen the tip of the iceberg with him, because the way he plays and the role he's given on this team doesn't really showcase what he can do. I think he has a chance to be an outstanding pro basketball player, and hopefully somebody will be smart enough to basically get what they would call a steal. He would be a steal for somebody because he's got a chance to be a good player.
Now, you have a great voice, obviously, because there's all the accolades that BT alluded to when you first came on, but you never promote them. What do you think about Lavar Ball and what he's doing, if it's detrimental or if it's
he just needs
to his
stop.
kids? You know what I mean?
I mean, he's not doing his son any favors, okay? If he really loves his son and he cares about his son, which I'm sure he does, what he's doing now is a disservice to his son. His son doesn't need to have to deal with all of that because he's probably getting all of those questions, and it's probably, in a way, it's probably an embarrassment for his son. Let his son's playing do the talking. And from everything I hear, he's a really terrific teammate and a really good player, and just let his son go and do what he has to do and stop with all of this stuff. It's like he's living vicariously through his son and he's drawing all this attention to himself. It's not about him. It's about his son. So let his son revel in all of the things that are taking place and just get on the back burner.
We're talking to Rick Barry, Hall of Famer. It's interesting, and I'm on the record. I don't like it either. I just think it's a poor look. It's it is what it is. I just don't like it. And, if it was golf or tennis, individual sport, I still wouldn't condone it, necessarily, but I could understand it more. I'm not worried about Lonzo. I mean, Rick, Lonzo's a stud. I'm worried about the younger kid. I don't care how good they are. The chance of them going top 3 or top 4 in the draft like Lonzo will, That's who I think might really be damaged from his bombastic tone. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, well, it's certainly that, it's almost to the point sometimes where unless they're unbelievably good, that some people might not even want to deal with having to go ahead and have him around. you know, I mean, seriously, it could be a real problem. It certainly can. You bring up a very valid point, and that's why he just needs to back off and let the kids let them do their thing. I mean, I talk about my son not as a father, my son Canyon. I'm talking to you about him as a basketball person who knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying he has a chance to do it. I'm not telling you he's better than anybody else or this or whatever. I'm just being honest and upfront as far as a realistic evaluation of what his skills are. And it's a lot different than what his father's doing. What his father's doing is crazy. And then he gets at this thing, and Charles Barkley and him are going at it. I mean, it's almost like a circus.
It really is. Challenging George, saying he's better than Jordan. Dude, you averaged 2 points in Washington State. Hit the brakes. I mean, come on. Let me ask you this, Rick. I wanted to circle back to the free throw. It's funny. I think I mentioned this to you one other time, I think years ago. And, Teague, I don't even know if you know this. My dad, in CYO basketball, I think it was the 4th grade, I really just couldn't reach the rim without kind of, flinging it from my belt. And like most young kids, my dad made me shoot underhanded for a year or two. And obviously the impetus and the inspiration was Rick. And I remember hearing Rick's name when I was really young, so I was always aware of Rick. I don't think I've ever asked you this, though. If we talk about the physics of the release, it's well chronicled, why it's an advantage physically to shoot underhanded. If that's the case, now I know that there's a defender, so you can't do it all the time. But if you're at the foul line extended or if you're baseline and you're open, why not fling a jump shot underhanded? It's the same dynamic.
Yeah, well, you get into the flow of doing things during the course of the game, and you really have to be so wide open because the ball is so low and is released at such a low point that, I mean, a quick guy would get over there and he'd be able to smash it away. So it really does make a lot of sense. The only time it can make sense if you were open and you had a last-second shot to do it from a long distance, it'd be better off probably to throw it with 2 hands and control it than just throw it up there with one like they do with a baseball or a football pass. So that would probably be the one case where they can do it. And you mentioned something here, and this is something that needs to get changed. You're talking about the little kids throwing it up the basket. That's the biggest problem in this country. Why in the world they have little kids playing with regular-sized balls on regular-sized baskets is the most insane thing in the world, because all you're going to do is develop horrible habits, not have the fundamentals, and that's why I'm so excited, because I'm working with Jim Olejos up in Connecticut. He's won some awards for the program he has, and it's the lessons of life. It's about schoolwork. It's about teaching the game properly, about smaller balls, a special thing that hangs in the basket to make the basket lower, have boys and girls together until they're 10 years old. This is going to be one of the great programs that will change the dynamic of basketball, because it's going to lay the foundation of the fundamental principles and concepts of the sport, along with encouraging schoolwork and making it fun, and also developing character traits that are the right type of things, teamwork, unselfishness. It's a great program. I'm working on getting some sponsors for this. This is going to revolutionize basketball the way it should be taught, and I want to be my legacy. So I'm working really hard on trying to get this implemented.
Nice, Rick. There you go.
Yeah, Rick, let me add on to that, or at least a question onto that, because we've heard this proposed before, but because of the women's game and the athleticism difference, should the women's baskets be lowered?
No, well, there should be all the baskets should be lower for younger kids.
No, I mean for like college age girls.
No. The college is fine. They're strong enough, big enough, and athletic enough. That's not an issue at all. It's the size. It's the height of the basket from the early ages. You get it down, and then it should be a natural progression. I mean, just like what they've done finally and got smart with the 3-point shot, where you have it at the top of the key, then it moves back internationally, and then it moves back, to the pros. As you get bigger and you develop more, you can move it back and make it a little bit more difficult. But having a high basket and bigger balls for little kids to do it is just so bad for the game. It's insane because, like you say, you can't fundamentally shoot the ball properly if you're shooting at a 10-foot basket when you're 5 and 6 and 7 years old.
Agreed. I totally agree. I think it's a really smart endeavor. Talking to Rick Barry, and hopefully it latches on, and I think it'll work if it does. And Rick, of course, Basketball Hall of Famer, he's with us here on Tiki and Tierney. Rick, you know this. I mean, kids are so inherently impressionable. Bryce Harper hits a home run, he watches it. Kids in Little League hit a home run, they watch it. The bat flips, all the things that that the kids try to emulate. And that's obviously crossed over to hoops, where as soon as they walk in the gym, they fire up or try to a 30-foot jump shot because they try to emulate Steph Curry. I want to ask you about Steph here. I said to Tiki 2 days ago, I think he's a little bit too enamored with the difficult shot, the degree of difficult. Like, I think he's gotten away, whether it's because he just loves being on sports. I don't know, but I feel like he has made the game unnecessarily hard for himself. and he's not as close to getting right as some people think he might be. Your thoughts on him and the Warriors in general?
Well, there's no question that at times he takes shots that most coaches would cringe at. It's the degree of difficulty. He's always up there around the 10 level, it seems. But he is an amazing shooter. And when you're shooting the percentage that he shoots, you can't really fault that, because if you're shooting in the 40 percentile from three-point range, that's insane shooting, because 33% is equivalent to 50.
Yep.
So if you're shooting in the 40s, I mean, that's like shooting 60, 70% from two. So how do you you really can't argue with that. I mean, seriously. The problem is that when you're taking them, the whole Warriors team lost the championship last year. Well, the officials is one reason, because they let the game get overly physical, and I can't stand that. It's been a problem ever since I played the game, before I played the game, and even now they let the game become overly physical. And I keep trying to ask the NBA, why do you do that? Why do you want to give an advantage to the less skilled player? Because it doesn't take talent and skill to hold and shove and push and play so physical like they let it say, oh, it's playoff basketball. I always say, well, show me the new playoff rule book. Same rules. I mean, it's insane, because that has an impact on a guy like Steph Curry, but it's not going to impact LeBron James because he's so big and strong.
Yeah.
And so what happened, though, is the Warriors shot nothing but three-point shots at the end of Game 7, and they killed themselves doing that.
Rick, you really got to find a way to get some opinions, man. I mean, you really, you don't say anything.
Well, don't get me started if I started talking about the stuff in the NBA, how nobody runs the pick and roll play, and how there's moving screens that I charted. I can go on and on about this, and that's why I don't think people like to hear the truth, because I feel like Jack Nicholson in the movie A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Most people can't handle the truth, and people ask me questions. I give them my answer, then they get mad at me because I didn't give them an answer that they wanted, which is absurd, because everybody is entitled to their opinion. You can disagree with it, but there's so many things going on in the NBA that nobody talks about right now that need to be talked about, because they're allowing things to take place that are giving an advantage to, well, sometimes the offensive player and a lot of times the defensive player, and they need to just play the game according to the rule book. Simple.
Rick, you got a lot going on. Nothing more important right now than watching Canyon play. Enjoy the ride. I did not know about the mother-son dynamic. That's amazing. Academic, just great prowess there. The big three should be fun. We've had Ice Cube. We're late, but we know all about it. And I know you're going to be coaching that. The commercial's cool. You're looking good. You sound good. Appreciate you, Rick Barry. Thanks, buddy.
Always a pleasure. Take care. God bless you and your listeners.
You got it, man. Back at you.